Happy Friday, everyone. Tom Grisafi, Agbo Media, Agbo Trading, the Agbo Podcast. We have the one and only Jim Wiesemeyer. He's queued up, but we got to give him that introduction that this man deserves. He worked harder probably than anyone in D.C. because they're not working. Mr. Jim Wiesemeyer. Mr. Wiesemeyer.
We've got late-breaking news analysis. We're ready to go, Tommy.
Let's do it. We got a lot of road to cover in a short time to get there.
Yes.
All right. Well, if I had to talk about something, I guess I would probably queue up this one, sir.
Government shutdown. I think we could actually see an end to this by the end of next week. Why? Why do I say that? Tuesday's elections. We have governor races in Virginia, my home state now, and New Jersey. And I think the Democrats want to get through those elections. They think they're going to win both. I'm not quite sure on New Jersey if they're going to win that, but we'll see. Either way, I think they're going to be close. But then they get them out of the way. They lose the argument after Saturday because that's when the scheduled increases. That's when the SNAP funding ends. Although there's late breaking news on that a judge just ordered the Trump administration to use $5.5 billion to partially fund those expiring food stamp payments. But the Democrats lose their argument on the Obamacare increase because those notices are going out now. So they're hurting themselves the longer they keep the government closed. So hopefully there'll be give on both sides. The Republicans will have to give maybe some future vote on some portion of Obamacare reform. But I'm getting more confident that by the end of next week, we're going to see the government back.
So you don't think the government's going to become a Halloween store, Jim?
It will tonight.
What are you going to be for Halloween?
Oh, I go with my cat. My cat sits at the door, and she watches all those people in costumes, and she loves Halloween.
Very good. So you're sure we're not going to become the dollar store?
No, we won't.
All right. You've been, boy, if people have been listening to you the last 10, 12 weeks we've been doing this, they've had some interesting opportunities. All right.
Partial reopening of USDA offices. Remember, they called 2 people back each. Now, it's been a rough reopening, and I don't fault the farm service agencies. And I've had more than a few emails from farmers, and I understand their frustration because the inability to get some farmer payments, including marketing assistant loans. But whenever you shut down the government, especially at the beginning of a fiscal year, it takes longer, and it takes a week to 10 days. And that's where we are since they recalled those FSA, 2 people per office back. And so I think hopefully over the weekend, in fact, I think some of these payments are going to be starting to be made, Tommy. That's a good thing. Let's hope I'm right. Let's hope I'm right.
That's a real good thing. All right.
Then we have some on the shutdown. Nope, we have the shutdown. We have, let's go through the list of the government shutdowns to show how many times that
you want a list?
There's the list. Look at that. How many times, 13, 14, there's been a vote in the Senate on voting for a clean continuing resolution, and it's been voted down each time. But you can see as we get into November now, we've got some critical dates here, both on the SNAP funding, which again, as we speak, a judge came out and said USDA we're forcing you to use the $5.5 billion in contingency funds. And hopefully you can look around and find some other funding in order to continue those much needed food stamp programs. And then, as I said before, we have the Obamacare increases, 30% or more in increases. So that's why we're going to have a solution to that. But then the next one, Tommy, bring up, we've got late breaking news. NASS, National Ag Statistics Service, came out with just this on their site. They will release key data in November.
This is a big deal, Jim.
This
And
is
you
a
know
big
what?
one.
All right, let's give it the breaking news.
Yeah,
Beep, 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 beep.
It is, because look at crop production normally was going to come out November the 10th. Now it's going to come out November the 14th for sure. Okay. And then the WASDE report will come out the same date. Now they'll also have the milk production, cattle and feed, and et cetera. But why did this occur? They had to find money from somewhere.
Where's the money coming from?
Why did this happen? NASS staff are being recalled because we need the reports for Farm Service Agency activities.
Okay.
I was told. So that's a little exclusive for us right now. I would imagine they found money either in the Commodity Credit Corporation or the shifting of funds. Again, there are billions of dollars in every agency.
I wish I could find money like that, partner.
Yes, I know, that are floating around, and they found it. But that's good news, because the market now is going to have some data for the crop size, the corn and soybean crops, and the WASDE on the demand side. It's going to be interesting to see what they say on China, Tommy, with the news that we're going to talk about later on whether or not they increase U.S. soybean exports as a result of the Xi Jinping and Donald Trump agreements that were announced this week.
Now we get to if you're a saver, you're making less, and if you're a borrower, you're paying less.
Yeah, but you'll pay less in the future. But we don't know about December, because the curmudgeon, our Fed chairman, Jerome J. Powell, put a little fuzziness in
I saw that. That rocked the markets too.
Yeah. And so we had wide expectations that they were going to have another cut in the December Fed Open Market Committee, that's FOMC, in December. Now it's still over 50%, but we're not as sure. So because they don't have the data.
Quote what this young man said, Jim.
Yeah, well, that's Jerome J. Powell. As I always say, he's smart, but he's dumb when it comes to interest rates. You know, he's behind the curve. He's the one who said that the inflation was transitory. It wasn't. And they kept interest rates too high for too long, and so now they need to further cut. But now he's thrown some oil into the water.
And we got a picture of it. He said we may. How do you word it? He said there's no. He said there's no guarantee that we're going to have a rate cut in December, and we'll show you what that looks like in a picture right here.
Far from it. And far from it, he said. Yeah.
Oh, far from it. And they listen to not every word he says. They listen to every letter and his reflection of that letter.
Absolutely. But there's time to go in December. We'll have some increased data maybe before, if the government comes back, as I think that they will, by the end of next week. So at least we'll have some more data to give the Fed information, so they're not as cloudy as they think that they are right now. So you'll eventually see lower interest rates than what they announced this week. That's my the easy prediction.
Real quick from the trader and me, when he said that, the bond market sold off, and when we sell off at the Board of Trade bonds, that means interest rates actually spiked on those comments.
And the dollar increased, because you're going to have higher interest rates longer, and so that's why you had an uptick in the dollar, which is not so friendly to the ag markets usually.
And we did see a lot of volatility in ags. October is officially over. The markets are closed. We have some good news. Soybean rally. And what does it mean for trade aid?
Yeah, we've got soybeans over $11.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that's good. Let's hope we even go higher.
I got a beautiful chart of that. This is January.
Yeah.
Soybean chart.
Yeah.
And then you put a beautiful chart in here, Jim, that really will give people a good idea of how miserable it's been for farmers, traders, brokers, speculators. Look at that sideways channel of a whole lot of nothing. 980 to 1060 caught it
Trading
all.
range,
Yeah,
trading range.
since
And then we got the news that broke it out of that trading range. And the news was China and the U.S. came to an agreement. There's Trump and Xi Jinping in South Korea. And they had a host of agreements. I think we have a checklist that we're going to go through just very briefly what
you
they
want a
did.
checklist?
Yeah, I
I'll
want
give
a
you a
checklist.
checklist.
There we
You get a
go.
checklist,
Tariffs.
Mr. Wiesemeyer.
Yeah, the U.S. agreed to reduce the tariff rates on Chinese goods, the fentanyl tariff. He halved them. We're 20%. Now they're 10% in return for Chinese cooperation on the fentanyl issue. And Trump just said an hour ago he'll get rid of the other 10% tariffs if China follows through. And then the rare earth
Really?
export controls, China agreed to delay implementation of those new rare earth export controls by 1 year. That's big news because it's going to give us the time to work agreements in the U.S., but primarily outside of this country, Japan, other countries, South Korea, on rare earth minerals. I think it's going to take up to 2 years, but that's still a good development. Agriculture, soybeans, China committed to resume large-scale purchases of U.S. soybeans. We're going to detail that in a minute, but it's just not soybeans.
How about your
It
sorghum you've been
included
talking about?
sorghum. They actually said the word sorghum. And so that's good to the Milo sorghum growers. But they didn't say anything about cotton yet. And you saw cotton had a rough week again, primarily, I think, because there was no confirmation of any new news relative to China on cotton. And I'm going to be researching that this weekend. So maybe we'll have good news early next week once we get more information. But now
Jim, the way the light's coming in, it's like you have a halo around you.
Yes.
It's like you should see it, Craig. You should see the way this is going to look on film. You look like you're doing this broadcast from heaven. It looks good. All right. How about this? Did we get to the we did soybean rally, but what about this magic $13 billion?
Well, yeah. Now farmers are beginning, especially soybean growers, are saying, with this rally, is this going to impact the trade aid package? Now, we've confirmed this week USDA moved $13 billion in funds from the Commodity Credit Corporation over into a trade aid package. Now, they can't announce that, Tommy, until the government comes back. So they're ready to uncork it. But Steve Vaden, he's deputy USDA secretary.
Is handsome alert?
Yes, I think he's the smartest person in USDA. Now, he really is. I mean, you get him in a room, he's going to be the smartest person. But he's very articulate, and for a lawyer, he can speak English. Believe it.
I love it. Steve, are you watching the show? Are you watching the Ag Bull podcast? Jim Wiesemeyer, and he's not always big on compliments. He just sent you one. Say it one more time for those sitting in back.
He's the smartest person in any room he's probably at, but he's articulate. He was on Agri Talk earlier this week, and he said, he was asked, Chip Flory asked him, will the price run up impact the trade aid program? He basically said yes, but he said that's what they want. They want to see that it could take different paths. It could be several bridges, meaning sorghum hasn't had the price run up like soybeans has, and cotton hasn't. So we're still going to get a trade mitigation program. Senator John Hoeven said it's ready to be announced. It's just the government has to come back. But, depending on the price run up, if it continues for soybeans, soybean growers could be impacted on this because I know that they would much rather get funding from the open marketplace. Well, that's what they may be getting if this rally continues. And let's go through some of those agreements that they announced on soybeans.
Absolutely. Is this the picture you like?
Yeah. Now, at the beginning, people were so confused, and Joe and I were discussing before the program that the soybean market went down initially after word of the U.S.-China agreement because people were confused that there were very few details. But then Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent came out and said China has agreed to purchase, not for shipment, no, to purchase 12 million metric tons between now and January.
He said that early in the morning, right, Scott Bessent?
Yes, and that's when you saw it. It's like the market rallied as a result. And then he also said they agreed to purchase 25 million tons of soybeans annually for 26, 27, and 28.
So this chart you provided goes all the way back for you home gamers. It's a little hard to see. We're going back to 2010, Jim.
Yes. What I wanted to point out is look at that dotted line. That's the 25 million metric tons that they've committed to on an annual basis for 26, 27, and 28. Now, you can reach different conclusions on this. The blue line is the actual U.S. soybean export to China. Look at the last few years of the Biden administration, where they averaged 27 million metric tons. So some people are saying, well, they didn't even get a better agreement than what China purchased under the Biden administration. Now, Deputy Secretary Vaden and the soybean growers are saying, wait a minute, this is a floor, not a ceiling. China can purchase more than the 12 million metric tons between now and January and the 25 million metric tons on an annual basis for the next 3 years. But that is an issue in the marketplace right now that some people think, myself included, that they should have had a higher level than the 12 million tons and the 25 million metric tons. But at least it's better than zero, isn't it?
Yeah,
because that's what China was purchasing. So I'm not going to be too negative on them. They got an agreement, and at least we're off in a renewed trading relationship between the U.S. and China in the bean sector. And the sorghum, we just don't have details on sorghum and other commodities at this time. But when we were going through the list of the agreements, I didn't point out we had a port agreement that the U.S. and China are not going to assess penalties on shipping in each country. That's a good thing because now we have that off the books as we ship U.S. soybeans into China. So that has been underreported, Tommy. So I think it's been a 1 year delay, and that's a good one because we don't have a shipping albatross around our neck on our shipments of beans and other products to China in the year ahead.
Unbelievable. Jim, I got your email sitting up there. Folks, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, Mr. Jim Wiesemeyer at Gmail, that's how you get on the list. Of course, when stuff's really breaking, Jim's been sending it to the AgBull website. We've been posting that. He has his own little corner of the AgBull website, AgBull Intel, Wiesemeyer's Perspectives. Mr. Jim Wiesemeyer there. Jim, you are working as hard as anyone I know with quality information. If it's not just right, you say correction. I need to correct that. You're just on it, like old school news when news was good and accurate. A lot of integrity there, folks. A lot of integrity,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Wiesemeyer.
Well, I learned from I had good mentors. They told us if you're wrong, you better say it and you better correct it.
Let's continue with the show. We're going to get through this pretty quick today. We did Trump Z, we did China commitment. How about New World Screwworm?
Well, we had a video online meeting between Secretary Rollins at USDA and her counterpart in Mexico. They didn't reopen the border. They discussed what it would take to do that. There were some new methods to deal with that screwworm. And I think in the not too distant future, that doesn't mean next week, but Mexico really wants to reopen that border. And I think that they're going to monitor some of these new approaches that they're taking, Tommy, to stop the spread of that screwworm And I think when they meet next, the next time you see that they're going to meet, you got to up the odds at least that we could have a partial phased in reopening of that border. I just don't know when, but I think that's the next step.
Very, very interesting here. Well, there's let's talk real quick. They did not. Let's talk about this BS vote that happened with Brazil. Talk about that. Give it some perspective.
Well, the Senate, I had a series of votes this week that they approved a negative vote on Trump's trade policy on Canada and Brazil. And they were narrow votes. There wasn't a super majority, but it means nothing because the House isn't going to pass them. They may not even take them up. And even if the House were to pass what the Senate cleared, Trump would veto it. But these are message bills. It does show a number of moderate are anti-Trump Republicans voted against Trump's tariff policies. So it is a signal there, but it's not going anywhere. So don't waste too much time on that one.
Okay. Sticking with beef real quick, and it's kind of like we have the headline, but we don't have anything to talk about it.
Well, yeah, we need the agreement, and I'm telling you, the White House and U.S. Trade Rep Jameson Greer and Bessent, Treasury Department, they've heard it from both Republican and Democratic lawmakers say, "What in the H are you doing?" Importing Argentine beef, that cattle producers are finally in a profitable situation, and a fourfold increase in Argentina's beef shipments to this country from 20,000 to 80,000 isn't going to have that much difference. But we saw psychologically it did. But I think
Very
now
much
we've
so.
got that out of the way. I think you've got a cattle chart, don't you?
Yeah, but you know what? I messed up the cattle chart. I do. We have a cattle chart. This is just today that we
Yeah,
stabilized. This is
we're
just today's
stabilized.
price action. Yeah.
Yeah,
Eh,
that's a success because look at
oh
the
yeah.
volatility that we've seen on it. So, um, uh, you remember they announced a 4 or 5 point plan
Mm-hmm.
to increase cattle production, and as Trump said, he wants lower beef prices, etc. But as most of us know who know the cattle market, it takes time.
Yeah.
And the government, once they get into it and try to dictate a market decision, they'll screw it up every time. And they did the cattle.
Yeah. That was a lot of emotion with what happened in cattle, and I'm very compassionate for all the hardworking men and women out there. I've joined a lot more. I got to jump on here so I could just talk like I'm this ghost in the back. But I've joined a lot more groups on Facebook, and there's people talking about it. I mean, I have people, random friends from high school, ask me. They heard the cattle, person real bad, and the price of beef isn't lower at the store. Do we dare talk about the big four? I mean, was there some inside baseball about, was this not for the cattle people? Was this to take the pressure off the packers?
No, I just think it was Trump's and somebody's silly way to lower the price of beef that just didn't help. It just hurt the producer. But as you said, the demand is still there, and
Oh, very much so.
I do want the audience to hear that I got a surprise package
Oh, do tell.
of some good. I can't wait to have some tonight from none other than Tommy sent me some really nice steak.
Yeah.
12
All right.
12 fillets. I can't wait.
Those were from Albers Beef, Mr. Blake Albers and his family out of Nebraska. I probably ordered 3, 4 boxes, and now I'm sending them to people I like. Good news is, Jim, I don't like many people, and so you were one of the few people who got one. But yeah,
Well,
you
the
deserve it.
demand is there, as you can see right there, and I think that's what they're finding, that the prices, although high, people still love beef, including yours truly.
Well said, my friend. Let's talk about this.
Well, today was the last day to comment on the SRE reallocations, and a number in the biofuel industry, pro biofuel, is telling EPA, hey, have 100% reallocation of those
Okay.
special refineries. So let's hope that that's the case. We're also still waiting on the 2026 and 2027 renewable fuel standard mandate levels. I think we're going to have to wait until December for that one. And 45Z details, we are still waiting for that and probably will into 2026. Why is this so important? Although we finally have U.S. soybean exports going back to China, and it's going to take a time to build those purchases. Um, uh, you still need domestic utilization, and that's where the Renewable Fuel Standard Program and the 45Z details become more important, because that's the fourth and fifth gear of the demand for the U.S. soybeans and the various products. Tommy, I did forget there is a little news I want to break. Let me see if I
Yeah,
can find
I
it.
got time.
Next week, there is going to be, let's see whether
You
I can
look for
find
that.
it.
I want to
Here,
take a break. You got it?
there's an expo in China next week, and COFCO is
Oh boy.
expected to sign a 5 million metric ton purchase commitment. Now, I don't know whether that'll include the shipment information or just a pledge to buy, but we're going to get that news next week. I just got that in about 20 minutes ago.
Oh, that's
So
big.
we could have some 5 million metric ton purchase commitment. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to purchase it. They could, but we're going to wait details for that COFCO announcement next week. I think that's good news.
And that'll coincide with this chart that I forgot to pop up. I'm going to go back a little bit, but with you saying that, talk about this.
That's the marketing year, U.S. soybean shipments to China. You saw the other one was on a calendar year basis, but this is million metric tons on a soybean marketing year, and you can see the last trade war with China when it dipped down to
Oh yeah, you
13
can.
and 16. Yeah, and
Wow.
you can see where the levels of 23, 25, 31. You can see we're into that area with this 12 plus 25 that we talked about earlier, as far as purchase commitments. So we're getting back to normal, as normal as you possibly can with U.S.-China soybean trade relationships. But frankly, I hope I'm wrong, Tommy. I don't think this is going to last that many years, which is why the soybean industry, thank goodness, is good at market development. They're going to try to find other markets other than China, and connecting the dots. We have to increase domestic utilization of soybeans in the sector through the RFS and the 45Z programs. And so at least we have some time to work on that now with U.S. soybeans going back to China.
Yeah, real quick, folks, we're down to the end. We got Mr. Jim Wiesemeyer on. Folks, if you're enjoying this show, Mr. Wiesemeyer lets us do this. He gives it out to the public for free because he's a generous man. He loves agriculture. But the new www.agbull.com website's up. Of course, you can get the Wiesemeyer Intel. That's up there for free. But other yummies and goodies here on Halloween are available for $25 a month, $250 annually. And we are having fun. I want to say thank you to the new subscribers, and we're going to continue to work hard for you. We're getting out texts on actual alerts, morning emails, afternoon emails. Folks are calling the desk, talking to the brokers, and we're really enjoying doing that. Back to the show. Also want to give a shout out to my brother, Joe Grisafi. Mr. Wiesemeyer works really fast, text, emails, ask for pictures, and of course, Lindsay at the corporate office who loaded all these beautiful yummies here on this Halloween day. Now, with that, I'm so sad. It's almost over. We only have, this is sad news. That's why I'm sad.
Yeah.
We'll go to this one first. This one really bummed me out, Jim. This is not good. This is not good.
No, it's a good company. FMC Corporation just cratered this week. They cratered more than 45% their equity on Thursday, and for a host of reasons. Yeah, India. They're having a Latin America competition for their products. But yeah, you look at that now. That's not a good chart. And I was on the earnings call, and boy, they fessed up. They had to. So they're going to take corrective action here. Now, my concern, Tommy, is some of the reasons they gave could be reflected in some future U.S. ag sector earnings reports over the next few months. Now,
Let's go
Corteva
through
is
them.
a very good company. They've had a very good year, so they've had some built-up profits going in. But despite raising their current fiscal year earnings in August, Latin America has turned tougher on credit and pricing for crop chemicals, as we saw in FMC. So I would watch Corteva, and they're coming out with earnings next week. I think the
Okay.
4th and the 5th. Deere has several times lowered their fiscal year outlook. Farm equipment demand is soft, and that's an understatement, and financing costs are relatively high. AGCO, I'm getting mixed signals. Dealers heavy on inventory. Cycle is near the bottom. Nutrien, now they had the temporary Trinidad nitrogen shutdown, and that offsets their North American plants. So, but supply hiccups are possible. CF Industries, these are all very good companies. They missed the last quarter on higher cost, nitrogen pricing, volatility. Mosaic, Brazil is the key. They've had improved 2025 earnings, and now with Brazil stepping increasing their soybean productions, I think their margins are going to remain cyclical. And then I've got a couple of others. Bunge Global, I would watch out, and then ADM. They've had some problems over the past year or so. But my point here, Tommy, is that the downturn in the U.S. producer sector, crops, is not limited. This once the farmers do bad, a number of other affiliated companies have challenges as well, and so that's why you have to have profits to build up for the years in which it gets harder. And that's why, thank goodness, we had in 2021 a really good bull market in the crops, but you need more than a few of them to withstand the multi-year downturn that we've seen in the crop cycle the last few years. That's the same way at agribusiness sector, and so I think we're seeing it. This is just what the ag sector development we're seeing on the financial side.
Well said. Quickest you and I ever got to a podcast, and I'm not going to make it any more drama. I got to tell you, folks, if you're watching this and you enjoy this, drop a comment down below. What can we do better? What would you like to see more of? Just ask. We'll try. We can't always do it, but we can try. Jim, with that, I always let you close the show, or I always, like we've done this for 10 years, but I like to end shows on a positive note because there's a lot of emotion flying around. I think I know how you're going to end it, but I don't want to ask you a question and answer it for you.
Big D demand. Big D demand is coming back in the crop cycle, not just soybeans. Eventually, we're going to get that news out on sorghum and hopefully cotton. As I said, we may get other good news from COFCO next week on their 5 million ton commitment. We're going to have to see the details on that, but it looks like we hit the bottom. And so now we're going to build demand. We've improved basis significantly, as we told the audiences, Tommy, a few weeks ago, to watch that PNW area in the NOLA area. That will give us the signal that this coming China business is for real, and it's for real. So I love a demand pull markets because that's when you get that cash price going up, because the exporters have to bid for those commodities. So that's not bad.
Thank you, my friend. I'll see you next week.
Sure.